Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm 25. I was in my apartment halfway through reheating leftover pizza when my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. Ryan, a woman's voice said. It's Marissa, Aaron's mom. I straightened up, surprised. Oh, hi, is everything okay? Sorry to bother you, she said quickly. I wouldn't call if it wasn't weird. There's some kind of animal in the basement. It's making a ton of noise, and I have no idea what to do. Aaron said you were good with this kind of stuff. I blinked, unsure if I'd just been drafted into pest control. An animal, I think it's a raccoon, she said, her voice exasperated. I tried calling animal control, but they're hours out. I'm kind of losing it. I hesitated for half a second, then grabbed my keys. I'll be right over. When I pulled into their driveway, she was already outside, arms folded over her chest, pacing in small, anxious steps near the porch. Her hair was pulled into a loose ponytail, and she wore an oversized sweatshirt, leggings, and running shoes like she'd been halfway through something casual before the whole thing started. Her expression eased a little when she saw me. Thank God, she said, half laughing. Sorry, I know this is not exactly what you signed up for when you became friends with my son. No problem, I said, stepping out of the car. Do you have a flashlight? Yeah, and gloves if you want them. She led me inside down the hall to the basement door. I could already hear the noise scratching a low thump, something shifting near the far wall. She handed me a headlamp and a pair of thick leather gloves like she'd done this before. Just promise me one thing, she said, eyes wide. Don't get rabies, I smiled. I'll do my best. I headed down careful on the steps, heart beating a little faster than I expected. After a few minutes of quiet moving light scanning and some softly spoken coaxing, I spotted the raccoon behind an old cabinet. I managed to get the window open, nudge it toward the exit with a broom handle, and watched it scramble out like it had somewhere urgent to be. When I came back upstairs, hands dusty but triumphant, she handed me a glass of lemonade. You're a lifesaver, she said. We sat on the back porch while I drank it. The air was quiet, except for a few birds and the occasional bark from somewhere down the block. She leaned back in the chair, visibly relaxing now that the noise was gone and the house was calm again. She told me Aaron was out for the weekend, some ski trip with his girlfriend, and that she'd been trying to finally clean out the basement, but it ended up with an unexpected guest instead. I didn't ask much beyond that she was funny, though dry sense of humor. Talked with her hands, told me about how she used to play volleyball back in college. That day ended without anything happening, just conversation, just lemonade. But something stuck. After that, she waved whenever I came by. Sometimes I'd be at Aaron's house waiting for him to get home, and she'd ask if I could help carry something down from the attic or fix a stuck window or lift a box she couldn't reach. Sometimes she'd hand me leftovers because she made too much. At first, it just felt like casual help. I didn't think much of it, but looking back now, it was like something was slowly waking up in both of us. It started small, subtle. Aaron would be upstairs gaming with his headset on, and I'd be in the kitchen helping her change a light bulb. Or she'd call out, Ryan, you mind helping me with this cabinet door, and I'd follow her into the laundry room while Aaron was blasting music from behind a closed door. She always insisted on feeding me afterward. Sandwiches, pasta, grilled fish, said it was the least she could do. I learned things about her slowly. She had a way of sharing just enough without ever feeling like she was oversharing. She told me Aaron's dad had passed away a few years ago, that things had been hard for a while after that she'd started working more hours just to keep from thinking too much. She told me about her daughter Melanie, who just finished grad school and moved to the East Coast. About her father, who used to play classical guitar but had lost most of his memory to Alzheimer's. About the shoulders she injured during a volleyball tournament in Spain and how it still ached when it rained. And I just listened. One afternoon, I was helping her transplant lavender near the side fence. The soil was dry and we were both down on our knees, hands dirty. She leaned over to brush hair from her face and her fingers left a streak of dirt across her cheek. I laughed and reached out instinctively to wipe it off with my thumb. She froze just for a second. Our eyes locked, and then she smiled. Small, unsure, but real. That was the first time I saw it, the shift. The moment the air between us thickened with something more than just friendly favors and shared dinner plates. Later that day, when I was getting ready to leave, she stood by the sliding glass door and said, "You've been really good to me, Ryan." I shrugged. It's nothing. It's not nothing. She didn't say more, and neither did I, but that night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the way her hand brushed mine when we both reached for the same trowel. The way her laugh lingered after I told her that dumb story about Aaron falling asleep during an exam. The way she had looked at me like she wasn't supposed to, but couldn't help it. From that day on, we both knew something was happening, but we didn't name it. Not yet. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, toes curled over the drop, waiting to see if the other person would jump first. And neither of us had wings. It was a Thursday evening when I stayed longer than I should have. Erin had gone out with friends some bar crawl or trivia night, and I had come over earlier to help Marissa move some boxes from the attic. Nothing major, just decorations books. A few bins labeled Melanie's stuff. We worked for about an hour, passing things down the narrow pull-down ladder while dust floated in the slanted sunlight from the tiny attic window. Afterward, she poured us wine. We sat on the floor of the living room, backs against the couch, laughing over how one of the boxes had burst open and spilled a pile of old Halloween costumes. I held up a witch's hat and put it on. She laughed so hard she snorted, then covered her mouth in mock horror. It felt easy. Too easy. At some point, the laughter faded into quiet conversation about music, regrets, how different life turns out from what you expect. I told her I never really knew my mom. She passed when I was 6. She told me Erin's dad used to be different, used to be home more, used to look at her like she mattered. People drift, she said quietly. Sometimes you don't even notice until the space between you is too wide to fix. I looked over at her then. Her wine glass dangled from her fingers, half forgotten. Her legs were folded beneath her, and the soft lamp glow brought out the gold in her hair. And then she looked at me. That look didn't last long, but it didn't need to. I leaned in slowly, waiting to feel a pull back. A sign to stop. It never came. Our lips met softly just once, then again, longer. Her hand moved up to the side of my face, fingers trailing my jaw like she was memorizing it. My glass rolled gently onto the carpet beside us, forgotten. There wasn't urgency, just something unspoken breaking the surface. She pulled back first, her breath unsteady. This is dangerous, I know. But neither of us moved away. That night I didn't go home until after midnight. We didn't sleep together, not then. But something shifted. Something cracked open, and we didn't close it. The next few days were full of tension, the quiet kind that sits in the room with you even when you're not speaking. I still came by, still helped with things, but the air was different. She wore softer clothes. Her perfume lingered longer when she passed me, and when I left, her fingers brushed my wrist just a second too long. The first time we crossed a line, really crossed, it came a week later, and it wasn't clumsy, it wasn't guilty. It felt in that moment like something both of us had needed for a long time. But as with all beautiful stolen things, it didn't come without a cost. After that night, after the line was well and truly crossed, things didn't spiral the way I thought they might. There was no storm of guilt, no awkward distance. If anything, we slipped into a rhythm that felt natural. Dangerous, but natural. She didn't say much about it. Neither did I. But the way her hand found mine beneath the table, the way her smile softened when Erin wasn't looking, that said enough. Marissa left the back door unlocked sometimes. Told me I could come by when it was quiet. Said it like it was nothing. But we both knew better. Her house changed after that, lights, lower music, always playing soft, slow stuff like she needed something gentle in the background. She wore robes that barely clung to her frame, tied loose, and she'd smile from the kitchen when I arrived as if this had always been our normal. We never talked about the future. Never used words like love. It wasn't that kind of thing. It was quiet, mature. Something made between long silences and soft gasps in rooms that weren't meant for this. Sometimes we'd just lie in bed after facing opposite directions but still touching. She'd talk about her 20s, about how she used to want to be a photojournalist, how life changed, how no one really prepares you for what happens when people stop seeing you as a person and start only seeing the roles you fill: mom, employee, housekeeper. I listened. I told her things I hadn't said out loud in years, about my dad's silence growing up, about how I always felt like I was waiting to become someone worth noticing. She reached across the sheets and ran her fingers through my hair. "You're all ready," that she said like it was the easiest truth in the world. The hardest part wasn't what we were doing, it was how easy it became. I started slipping in early mornings when Erin was out on runs or still asleep. Sometimes I'd park a few streets down just in case. She'd greet me in the hallway, hair still damp from the shower robe pulled snug. We didn't say much, just moved around each other like we'd done this 100 times. And maybe that's what scared us both, because eventually the world started catching up. Erin started being home more, his internship wrapped up, and suddenly he was around every day. His presence changed everything. Her door was still open, but I stopped walking through it. We got cautious. Shorter visits, no lingering, less talk, more tension. And not the good kind. It felt like living under a roof with a leak you can't quite locate, just waiting for the drip to fall through and give you away. One afternoon I saw Aaron outside clearing out the garage shirt off, headphones in. He looked like his mom, sharp jawline, same eyes. He waved. I waved back. That night, Marissa didn't call, and the next night she didn't answer. The silence stretched. Eventually she texted me. Just one line. He's not going back to school next semester. I didn't respond. What was there to say? We both knew the risk had changed. Before we lived in a space just outside consequence. But now Aaron was always nearby. Every door creaked louder. Every shadow held teeth. Still, we couldn't stop. Not yet. The next time I saw her, it was rushed. A narrow window stolen while Aaron was out getting groceries. She opened the door and pulled me inside fast, like even the walls might be listening. We didn't speak much. We didn't have to. Her kiss was urgent. Not romantic, just desperate. Like she needed to remember this was real, that it had happened. Afterward, we sat in the hallway, backs to the wall, breathing in sync. I hate this, she whispered. This sneaking, this waiting. I know. She rested her head on my shoulder. We have to be more careful. But careful wasn't going to be enough. 2 weeks later, it nearly happened. I'd come over to help her replace a ceiling light in the laundry room. Just a quick task. Aaron, she said, had gone to pick up something from the hardware store and wouldn't be back for a while. We figured we had time. I was up on the ladder, screwdriver in hand, half-focused, when she gasped. Through the front window, she'd spotted his car pulling into the driveway. He was back early. There was no time. I scrambled down, wiped my hands on a rag, and bolted through the back door, heart in my throat. I jogged along the side of the house and ducked behind the row of hedges just as Aaron stepped out of the car. He didn't see me. He just whistled, carrying a bag of garden soil, humming like it was just another sunny afternoon, like nothing was different, like his mom hadn't kissed another man 10 minutes earlier. I crouched there until he was fully inside. Then I walked away, fast, shaken. That night Marissa called. Her voice was brittle. I thought he'd be gone till 5, I know, I said. It's okay. But it wasn't. We both felt it, the shift. The fear creeping in where the warmth used to live. She started pulling back. Not all at once, but gradually, carefully. Her texts shortened. Her voice on the phone lost its softness. The long mornings disappeared. The little touches when I walked in stopped happening. She didn't say the words, but I could feel them building in the space between us. We can't keep doing this. The last time I saw her like that, really saw her, she handed me a jar of honey from the market, said it was local. Her fingers brushed mine as she gave it to me, but it didn't feel like an invitation. It felt like a quiet ending. After the close call, everything slowed. Not in a dramatic, cinematic kind of way, just a quiet unraveling. We stopped texting every day. I stopped visiting unless Aaron was home, and even then it felt thinner, lighter, like we were pretending it had never happened. The key under the mat was gone, not that I would have used it. She stopped reaching out first, and when I did, her replies came slower, friendly but distant. I didn't press her. Some afternoons I'd see her on the porch with Aaron bringing in groceries or watering her herbs. She'd wave, I'd wave back. That was it. And maybe that's all it was ever supposed to be. The worst part wasn't losing the moments or the kisses or the early mornings. It was losing the way she used to look at me like I was the one person in the room who saw her completely. Not just Aaron's mom, not just someone holding it together, but Marissa. Bright, funny, worn thin, real. For a while I'd been the only one who got to see that version of her. Now I was just Ryan again, Aaron's friend, the guy who once helped with a raccoon. There was no dramatic final moment. No tearful confession, just silence. And time. A few weeks later, I ran into them at the grocery store, Aaron pushing the cart. Marissa laughing at something he'd said, that familiar tilt of her head. She saw me, gave a polite nod. I nodded back, that was all. That night I sat in my apartment, lights off, thinking about how quiet endings are the ones that echo longest. Marissa never asked if I missed her. I never asked if she thought about me. Those were the kinds of questions that demanded answers we couldn't afford. Sometimes late at night I remember the way she looked when she said my name softly. The way her hand would drift across my back without needing a reason. I wonder if she ever thinks about those moments, but I don't ask. Life kept going. She stayed with Aaron. He was around more now, present, engaged. Like the house had settled back into routine. She looked content, maybe even happy. And I stopped trying to decipher it. As for me, I started picking up extra shifts at the bookstore. Took weekend drives out to nowhere, let my hair grow out, made plans to leave the city next year. We don't talk anymore. Sometimes I pass her place and see her reading by the window. Sometimes I don't. But when I do, and she glances up just for a second and gives me that barely there smile, I know she remembers too. And somehow, that's enough.